Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gorecom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives and their friends and partners after they put out important news. With us today, happy to have him back for the Harmeet Gill. You guys all know him. He's the Senior Director of IR at Star Navigation, which trades in Canada, SNA. And beside him, we're honored to have him for the first time ever, Captain Jonathan Kordich. He's the EVP of Operations and Sales at FlightPlan International, and he's heading up the SNA sales force. To understand Star Navigation first, before we get into it, for those who new to the story, and that's going to be a lot of you because we just started working with Star Navigation, did you know that at any given time, 200 to 300 planes can be off the grid when flying and no one knows where they are? In an era where GPS can easily track dogs, trains, and automobiles, the world has a right to ask, why are our plane tracking systems not the strongest of all of those systems? And we all know what happened with the Malaysian Air and Air France disasters. Enter Star Navigations. This is where they come in. They're a flight sciences company. They bridge the gap between flight experience and flight safety in real time. But more than just tracking, which is superior, they've got real-time aircraft health and engine monitoring, very, very powerful, fuel management system, fleet management system, and all of that leads to incredible cost-cutting efficiencies. They're talking to us from Kenya, where they hosted the Aviation Accident Prevention Conference. They hosted it. Dozens of companies showed up. Let's talk about it. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Nice to be back here, pal. I mean, this was about 10 days ago. We were in Singapore, and now we're in Kenya. Things are moving.
Well, actually, Harmeet, before we get to the specifics of this conference, which is amazing, what does that say to shareholders? Because you guys are clearly showing a different side of Star Navigation now. You're in Dubai, then you're in Singapore, now you're in Kenya. You guys are really on the move, making things happen.
It's all to do with the feedbacks we're getting from the shows that we're attending. We met up with the Singapore Technique in Singapore. They were blown away by the technology when we presented to them. We've spoken to some major airlines, which you will see some press releases coming out very shortly. And the investors have been patient enough and they're waiting for it, George. And you know what that could mean for the investor relations side. I'm excited about it, and I feel that can't wait to get these out there. And there's a press release that came out this morning. It evaluates a little bit more about our get together with Captain Jonathan and FlightPath. They're in 160 airlines they deal with in 60 plus countries in the world. They have 9 training centers. These training centers is used for pilot training, ops training, your avionics guys to be trained well, and the operations. So hopefully they can grow airlines from 10 to 20 aircraft, 20 to 40 aircraft. So these are very key things, and they've already done that around the globe. And they have a very good presence here in Kenya and in Africa. They've been dealing over here for the past 18 years. And our partnership's really good. Like I said, we're on the sales side of us. So these guys can pull the strings, what they're good at, put us in front of people. We've got the technology. They've got the know-how, how to sell it and make sure that we get to that level. And I think it's a great combination. And I think the captain will agree with that too.
Well, let's ask him, right? Captain, welcome to Agoracom, by the way. Obviously, FlightPath, very successful company, which means you're most likely in that privileged position where you can pick your partners and pick who you go to the market with. What is it, if you could talk to Star shareholders a little bit in broad terms, because I know it get very technical, what is about Star Navigation's technology that led you to say, yeah, let's partner up, let's extend this relationship together and go to market together? Because that's a big decision, and you got to be sure about who your partner is.
That's a brilliant question, George. And initially, when we learned about Star Navigation capabilities with respect to the airborne data system, to us initially it seemed that it's a tracking system evolving from the accidents that you mentioned earlier, the MH370, Air France 443. But when we started looking deeper into the system, we were very, very impressed and very enthused of what we actually recognized the capability of the system to be. And what really stood out to us, it was the ISMS, the in-flight safety monitoring system, which means in addition to the things that you talked about, the capability, to us as a worldwide airline training provider, which we are in the interest to improve performance as pilots, as engineers, and operational personnel. Everything that we do from a training perspective is in the interest of accident preventions. And the development to this stage in the world of aviation has been, human development, technical development, but we have never seen anything such as the ISMS that's produced by Star Navigation
Wow,
that is
that's
really
saying something.
the doors in our ability to recognize that now we have scientific, analytical approach analysis that leads toward prevention of accidents, not dealing with circumstances after things have occurred, as we have done in aviation up to now, of where really we take action after an accident happens, so that way we can all learn from everybody else's mistakes and say, let's not that happen again. We're ahead of the game with this kind of system that we have available, of where now we really have preventative measures of where we can really look in advance and look at the patterns that are actually developing. So not only that we bring in our human development, our human factors, but now we bring in science, and science and mathematics don't lie. Hence, we have facts to prove what does it really take to be able to prevent accidents. Hence, bringing this conference here in Africa.
And I was going to say, more than just words, right? Look, anybody at the end of the day, you and me can get together as partners and say, we're going to take over the world together. Words are cheap, words are easy. You guys put your money where your mouth is because you hosted a conference, your own conference. You're not piggybacking, unlike Dubai and Singapore, which is great. You guys showed up to those conferences that were world renowned. You guys hosted this one, and that can be tricky. Those you can host it and flop, but clearly you were confident enough in your partnership's ability to attract all the right people. Talk to us, Captain, about how, first of all, who attended and what was the response like? When I mean who, I'm not talking specific itinerary, but generally speaking, what kind of people showed up to the conference, and how was the reaction to your displays?
Yes, very good, George. The initial intent of the Star ADS, I really prefer to call it ISMS because to me it has a much greater meaning. I mean, Star ADS is the system that actually delivers the answer for in-flight safety monitoring capabilities, what we are really after. Initially, the perspective throughout the world has been that this is really applicable to the heavy oceanic carriers, not to realize that the spectrum of application for this system that really begins from any kind of commercial operation, from carrying just a few passengers and right up to heavy lifters. So simply from a 4, 6, 8-seater airplane up to 3, 4, 500 personnel. And what we have done here in Africa, there is a tremendous combination of both. And there's a tremendous number of aircraft that have been kind of put aside and forgotten by the rest of the world aviation because, a Cessna Caravan or a King Air, it's not as glamorous as a Boeing 777. But when you put the numbers together of how many of these kind of aircraft are flying, they are in multiples of thousands in comparison to how many 777s we have. And yet they require the same type of system as a 777 can. And when you put the number of passengers flying and statistically where the accidents happen, this is where our interest really started to develop and say, this is the new industry that we need to bring to this world and make a difference to these people so they can have safer skies, and ultimately it will enhance their economic development in terms of tourism and manufacturing. And it's a real platform to put the third world countries on a plateau that will be equivalent in safety as the Western worlds, which up to this point in time, there has been a tremendous gap in between. But the ISMS is certainly making a big difference. So, to answer your question directly, what type of operators here is we've had small to medium range operators. The attendance was fantastic here today. And, a dozen of airline operators that joined us. And we are looking at, at least 100 aircraft plus here. They seriously want this device, and we are meeting with few of the senior management executive, throughout this week. And I've always said, uh, coming to Africa in emerging markets, the potential is tremendous here, and the numbers of aircraft far exceeds of what the requirements are in terms of safety as you would have in Europe or North America. So the potential is really tremendous, is for us to present the capabilities, prove the capabilities of the device, and then take it home to installation and operation.
And Harmeet, the great thing is you guys don't come to these potential customers or partners as an expense. You're actually saving them money. So you're coming to George Com Air, because I know the airline industry is very sensitive to cost, despite the fact how big it is. And especially the smaller to mid-size, Captain, as you were talking about, they're probably even more sensitive to additional costs. But you're actually almost I don't want to say revenue generating, but there's an ROI to installing the ISMS, right, Harmeet? So you're saving me money across the board.
Yeah, and I met some people today from the flight operations guys and safety guys, and they were saying, you know what, we've never seen a technology like this. The Kenyan government, he's coming out with regulations that are tough in a way, but at the same time, George, a plane went missing 10 days ago, and they still haven't found it.
Where, in Kenya?
In Kenya. We just found out today, right?
How big was that plane? How big? Obviously, it wasn't a jumbo.
I would say it's a mid-sized plane. It wasn't like a very big one. A mid-size with maybe up to about 20 passengers or so. That was the kind of plane
significant.
it was.
That's significant.
But yeah, I mean, there's loved ones on there. There's people there for whatever purpose they were traveling, right? It still means a lot. And this flight safety guy was saying that, he goes, man, if we had your system on it, we would have known the problem before it became a major problem. And just to hear from them, I took some interviews, by the way, and I'll forward them to you. We created a Star Media here as well, because we want to hear live stories. So, and our investors will let them know that why we are beyond the system that we have that's available out there in the market and the flaws. I mean, MH370, 220 plus passengers, 777 wasn't a small baby at all, right? And still missing since 2014. Go figure, right? But anyways, what we got from the feedback from these guys, they were really blown away by it. And they said, you know what? One of the guys was actually talking to his CEO who couldn't attend because he was at another conference in Mozambique. And he was listening to everything. And he goes, man, we need to see these guys as quick as possible, right?
And let me ask you a question, guys. Let me ask you a question. Hold on, there's my dog there. That's the reality nowadays.
He wants to put it on your car.
So let me ask you guys a question, and it's more of a very blunt, direct question. Do you guys expect sales to be generated from the prospects that you guys have been talking to? Because that's why you're there. That's what you're together for. That you're there to make sales. Not that they have to happen tomorrow, but you're pretty confident that this conference is going to lead to some meaningful sales.
100%, George. And let me just add a little bit more to what Harmeet said. For this particular scenario we have here, that they're still searching for the airplane. Harmeet said that had the ISMS been installed, we would have found this airplane as soon as it went down. But
Sure.
let me say over and above that, had they had the ISMS on board, we would not be looking for the aircraft.
You would have already known it had a problem.
Hence preventative measures. And this is huge. So it's a matter of making the public aware. And this is our first trip of this model of hosting our own shows. And we've been already invited. They have heard about what we're doing here in West Africa, which is our next move after India. We'll do the same shows. And we have actually been invited to do the same thing in South Africa, of where the location, the density of airline operations, are pretty much the same like we have here in Kenya, that there is easily just in this region over 500 aircraft operating. So for us, it's good to go as participants, as these players at air shows. But from my personal perspective, creating shows such as of this, hosting them by ourselves here, it will definitely bring us much greater returns. And we're looking at here, at least from the participation that we had today on the first host of this type of shows, we're looking at least 100 aircraft here that I'm very confident we'll bring home within the next 6 months. And I can see us, having every single airplane in this region equipped within the next year.
And I love the fact, Captain, that you guys are taking the bull by the horns. I mean, you guys went to Dubai Air Show, you guys went to the Singapore Air Show, you got to be there, and you guys made a great splash. But you're also not, you're creating your success, and that for everybody watching at home and all the shareholders who've been patient with Star for so many years, I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to put in my 2 cents that someone in the small cap world, when a company puts its money where its mouth is with initiatives like this, there's only one inference. They have to be extremely confident that it's going to translate into success, because small cap companies can't burn money. It's not cheap to fly the Star group and everybody out to Kenya. I'm sure you guys have to rent a plane, all the expenses that go with it all the time. You're not just doing that for fun. You've got confidence. So I just wanted to add that in. And Captain, I want to ask you this question now. A lot of people, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people don't know that the trend is towards light jets and light planes, right? Going forward, that they expect that to be a much bigger part of air. It's already big, but the Honda jets and all those, that industry is going to expand tremendously, correct? Which means that the market you guys are going after is in growth mode for the next 10 years.
That is 110% correct, George. And at the end of the day, we are in the interest of enhancing safety. And now we have the capability to do it through a scientific approach that has not been done in the past at all. But for the purpose of your investors, if we can put these devices on, irrespective how big, small, beautiful, whatever type of aircraft it is, and we can get the same kind of returns, frankly, if I can catch a lot more small fish than the one big one, we'll probably all eat much better. And that's what we have to.
Well, what's the famous saying? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? I'm a big fan, Captain, and look, I'm a sales guy, right? At the end of the day, I'm a founder of Agoracom, but I'm a sales guy. And I've always found, and I agree with you 100%, and again, I want Star Navigation shareholders to pay attention, that everybody thinks the glamour is in go get a deal done with Lufthansa or something like that. But try getting in the door, and then literally you can take years before you get a deal done, because there's so many layers of these companies and there's so many testing and things that it could take you years, and you could go hungry waiting for that big home run, as opposed to, in baseball terms, Captain, I'm not sure if you're a baseball guy, but singles and doubles. And then when you get that occasional home run, great, but you're not waiting for that. So I love the business plan.
George, if you look at this, going to Dubai Air Show, we had 3 partners that we got over that time before, and FlightPath was one of them. Then we went to Singapore literally 4 months later, and now we have 9 partners, and each partner's got a very big value to add into the sales side of it as well. We're going to have a back-end support from FlightPath, because they have a really good team there, and that's why we felt that this partnership will really stick together. We're both Canadian companies, and we're literally neighbors, because they're at Pearson, so are we, right? So it made every sense that we sync very well. Me and Captain have been presenting.
Canada Power.
We presented to an airline last week for 156 aircraft. Then we presented to another airline just a week later with 12 aircraft. They're all Gulfstream business jets. And Captain knows this, that usually it takes about 4 or 5 presentations by the time we get to a proposal level. We presented both of them once each, and right away they wanted a proposal.
Wow.
So you can imagine the combination of us two, and plus Amir Patti, who's an expert on the engineering side, what it's doing and how it's opening eyes for these airlines. Today, they were blown away by it, because every question they had answered very well. We had a very big media presence here, because recently the Kenyan government has been saying that they really want to up the game when it comes to aviation. And when they saw Stars here and what we did, we were upping the game before that government meeting we have on Monday with the Kenyan government.
And I can see why the Kenyan government and I know you guys are going to be South Africa and other parts of Africa, they have to have confidence. They have to be able to provide confidence to the world, their own population, that their small to medium-sized airlines are safe. They've got the best technology on them, because that leads to economic development, right? It's
Right.
amazing how much air creates economic development, and you guys clearly look like you're a solution. So, guys, let me ask you last question. What's next steps from here? Because I know you're going to be doing a conference in South Africa. You guys told us about this today, but in between that, clearly, you guys put out the press release today that you're extending your sales and marketing relationship together. So is it just good old-fashioned block and tackling, where you're calling up companies, doing the demos, and do you expect that to be a pretty aggressive program in 2022?
I will answer some of that for you, George, and then I'll leave it to Captain to say as well. Like I said, they already have existing clients around the globe.
Of course.
So we are touching base with them, and for them to put their credibility on the line, taking this system to take into the existing clients where they have built good relationships, it takes something to do that. So the confidence that FlightPath has in us, it just shows you. The same thing we're doing with our other partners. We are on our way to the India. There's a big show called the Wings India 2022 in Hyderabad. And Captain's coming with us. We're hopping over to Hyderabad for this conference. We have got some of the biggest players that are right next to our booth. And I'm sure you heard of Tata. They just bought out Air India. Air India was one of the first companies that I know that is run by the government that got bankrupt. Tata bought them out. They're right next to us. And then the Ambani Group is right next to us too. And this is going to be a great show. It's one of the biggest shows in Asia. It's actually bigger than the Singapore Air Show. And
Wow.
we are opening up some big doors over there. And I can't say too much now, George, for obvious reasons, right? But we'll come back.
Not that I know either. Yeah, all I know is you can't disclose. I want to make sure people home don't think, why does George know? I don't know anything either. But clearly there's much going on, and you can't speak too early.
The captain loves Indian food, so this is going to make a difference too. But Captain, if you know a little bit about India, but make sure we don't say anything too much about that.
Well, not a problem. Look, where do we go forward from here on, George? Really, the intent is that, we need to create visibility here. We need to move around. We need to knock on doors and sit and wait for somebody else to come to us. Air shows a good exposure. In my opinion, creating our own shows is great exposure, because then we invite people old and new. The big thing that is making a difference, and what, from this very first show that we did that is shaking people up, is that something that has not been emphasized to the extent that we are right now. And again, what the true capability of the ISMS is that drives toward accident prevention, from engineering perspective, from aircraft systems monitoring, to what is actually going on in the cockpit and how do we take corrective measure prior we find ourselves in an undesirable situation. So we intend to keep pushing forward like this, doing frequent visits. And then, as I said, I used an example today in our presentation, is that hopefully coming out of this COVID disaster worldwide, everybody is in a repair mode. Everybody's trying to catch up. Why don't we just jump ahead? If we can jump ahead, and here's a system that can bring us to that level of where we can prove the operator, the airline, really what the customer wants to hear, that we're not cutting corners here, and that we are truly a safe airline, and we can prove it through scientific analytical processes and systems that are installed on the aircraft. And I keep using the terminology of ISMS equipped, ISMS approved. That it's a matter of time until the public comes well aware of what it does. And as Harmeet said today, we had 4 different news local radio stations here that we did interviews with. And I guarantee you, the way that things gonna move, it's gonna come sooner than later, of where passengers even booking online, if they don't see the Star Nav ISMS symbol, they will not buy tickets there, because the public is more smart.
That's really, I got to tell you, you're really putting your money where your mouth is with that one. But I love that confidence. I mean, look, again, Flight Path isn't some Mickey Mouse operation that has to say big things to get some attention. You guys are globally recognized. You don't have to say anything. So for you to say that, I think that's pretty powerful. That's pretty powerful, Captain.
That's it.
George, just to top it up, George, we're excited, not just with the collaboration between the two companies, but it's the way we're getting the message across. People are understanding it. They want it. If my neighbors got it, why don't I have it? The response we got from the people today was phenomenal. I told them that some of you guys want to sit down and have one-on-one interviews, and I did that, and I will shoot them off to you so you can post them up too. And they were really gung-ho about it. One guy came all the way from Tanzania. He said, I didn't want to miss this. Captain got an email from Ghana saying that we have 7, 8 airlines and plus regional airlines that want a conference from you guys. We told them when we get back from India, we'll arrange another conference because we don't, if you're going east side to west side, that's like Toronto and Vancouver. So there was no way we could fit that in on this trip, but we will definitely entertain that either right after India or on another trip down here.
Hey, good problem to have. Good problem to have is that too many people want to see you and you got to fit them into your schedule as opposed to, hey, anybody, Bueller, you're not going through that. Congratulations, guys. Look, we could talk for another hour about this, but the most important thing that came out of this is not just the sales prospects, but for me, more so, it's that you've taken your matters into your own hands. You're putting your money where your mouth is. You're bringing companies in. You're hosting conference like this. You're going to host more. And Captain, I got to tell you, your third-party validation here, and I think that's important because all Star Navigation's shareholders, we know Harmeet, right? We all know Harmeet, and we know he's been a major supporter and evangelist, one of the most important guys in the company for a long time. But sometimes it's great to have somebody else come in and say, I agree that your technology is fantastic and I want to partner with you guys. And that kind of validation is great. And Captain, I hope we have you back on soon, my friend.
We might come live from India, my friend.
Hey, we're ready for you. But until then, thanks for joining us, guys. The conference is over. Go have a drink on us. You guys did really well. So, go celebrate a little bit and can't wait to have you back next time.
Thanks, George. Take care.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform. To both Harmeet Gill, Senior Director of IR at Star Navigation, and Captain Jonathan Cordich, the EVP of Operations Sales at Flight Path International. Go take a look at the press release that they put out today, March the 10th, really big. But more importantly, this video here tells you where Star Navigation is going. So if you want to start your due diligence, 2 things to do. Get to the company's profile page on the Gorcom because this is cutting edge technology. There are a lot of moving parts. So we've got it neatly laid out for you in a way to understand first. We don't want to throw it, like we said, how to eat an elephant, 1 bite at a time. So once you've had those bites on the Gorcom, then link over the Star website. It's a fantastic website, great graphics, really powerful. Do your deep dive due diligence. Hopefully today you discovered your next great small cap company. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.